For almost 30 years, Eiichiro Oda has been telling us the same story. A child loses everything. Robin, Law, Nami, Sanji, Kuma, Bonney, Momonosuke, even the Seraphim have a tragic story if you really think about it. At first, these look like emotional backstories meant to make us care about the characters. But what if these were never just backstories? What if Oda has been quietly showing us the world government's real objective since chapter 1? Not pirates, not the One Piece, the next generation.
It trembles under my stride. A shadow falls, but I won't hide.
Everyone talks about the Voyage Century. Everyone talks about Joy Boy. Everyone talks about Emu. But I think we've all overlooked the one thing connecting almost every major arc in One Piece. Children. Not because they're innocent, because they're the future. Once you start paying attention to the pattern, you realize it never stops. Think about every time the world government gets involved. Ohara, they didn't just destroy books, they hunted an 8-year-old girl across the entire world. Robin wasn't dangerous because of what she had done, she was dangerous because of what she could become. That alone tells us something important. The government isn't always trying to erase the present. Sometimes, they're trying to erase the future before it has a chance to exist. And then Oda keeps repeating that exact idea. The government doesn't raise children, they create weapons. Let's look at the evidence. Mother Carmel wasn't simply running an orphanage. She was supplying gifted children to the world government. Children weren't being rescued, they were merchandise. Years later, Caesar Clown continues experimenting on giant children at Punk Hazard. At the time, it felt like Caesar's own twisted obsession. But after Egghead, that doesn't feel like an isolated incident anymore. Now we know the government approved projects involving cloned soldiers, artificial bloodlines, and eventually, the Seraphim. Think about that decision. Vegapunk possessed the technology capable of cloning the strongest people alive, yet the government didn't ask for adult clones. They specifically wanted children. Why? Because adults have memories, adults have convictions, adults already have a set dream. Children can be shaped, they can be programmed, they can be raised into the perfect weapon before they ever develop a will of their own. And in One Piece, nothing is more dangerous than someone's will. Now compare that to Oda's heroes. Whitebeard gives his life trying to save Ace. Shanks sacrifices his arm for Luffy. Corazon dies protecting Law. Bellemere dies protecting Nami. Kuma gives up his humanity for Bonney. Odin dies so Momonosuke can inherit Wano. King Revan not only risked his life to save a young Brook, but then entrusts Brook with protecting Princess Shuri, placing the kingdom's future above everything else. These aren't isolated emotional moments. They're the complete opposite philosophy of the world government. Heroes don't control children. They sacrifice themselves so children can choose their own future. No story represents this better than Kuma. The world government took his freedom, his body, his memories, everything. But the one thing they could never take was his love for Bonney. Every decision Kuma made was for the next generation, not himself. Bonney isn't just another victim. She's the proof that inherited love survives even when memories disappear. That's one of Oda's biggest themes. You can erase memories, you can erase countries, you can erase history, but inherited will keeps finding a new generation. Then something incredible happens. Roger reaches Laugh Tale, learns the truth, and leaves. Why? Because he says they were too early. Think about that. The Pirate King, the strongest crew in history, couldn't change the world. Not because they lacked strength, because the people who were meant to inherit the future hadn't been born yet. Poseidon, Momonosuke, Joy Boy's successor, Luffy. Roger understood something the world government also understands. History isn't won by one generation. It's inherited by the next. Now let's look at the tragedies. Robin, Law, Bonney, Kuma, Sanji, Nami, the children at Punk Hazard, the Seraphim, Princess Shuri. Even Luffy himself watched Shanks sacrifice an arm to protect him. Every single one of these stories begins with a child standing at a crossroad. Either someone protects that child or someone tries to own them. Once you notice that, you can't unsee it. The real enemy is inherited will. The world government has spent 800 years burning islands, destroying kingdoms, erasing history, but despite everything, the will of D survives. Joy Boy's ideals survive. Roger's dreams survive. Why? Because ideas don't die with people. They move forward, generation after generation. That's why Whitebeard's speech before his death matters so much. He didn't say someone would inherit Roger's treasure. He said someone would inherit Roger's will. That's infinitely more dangerous. So here's a theory. Maybe Emu isn't terrified of pirates. Maybe Emu isn't even terrified of Joy Boy. Maybe Emu is terrified of children. Not because children are powerful today, but because every Joy Boy, every Roger, every dragon, every revolutionary, every great pirate, every person capable of changing history starts as a child. If you can control children, you can control the future. If you can erase children, you can erase tomorrow. And suddenly, everything the world government has been doing for the past 800 years starts making terrifying sense. One Piece has always been described as a story about inherited will. But maybe we've misunderstood what that really means. Inherited will doesn't exist without someone to inherit it. And if that's true, then the greatest treasure in One Piece was never gold. It was always the next generation. There's no face to face. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you like the video. I'm up.